Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the March 9th, 2026 meeting of the Town of Barnstable's Comprehensive Financial Advisory Committee. I am the chairman, Christopher Lozon. In accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, any member of the public is welcome to record this meeting as long as they make themselves known to the chair. Would anyone like to do so? Seeing none, can we get a roll call, Jeremy?
Certainly. Chris King,
You're muted,
You're
Chris.
on mute.
Unmuted, yes.
Chris Lozan,
Yes.
Remus Pascorius,
Yes.
Jim Sproul,
Yes.
Frank Ward,
Yes.
Lillian Wu,
Here.
and I am a yes.
All right. Everyone is here. Um, we have no one from the public here, so we'll skip over public comment. Approval of the meeting minutes, that should say March 3rd, not February 9th. So I would entertain a motion to approve the March 3rd, 2026 minutes.
So moved.
Seconded.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
It seems like they didn't do as much of an editing of the AI this time around. So it's a little it doesn't the meeting minutes don't flow so fluently.
Just as far as the way it's structured, you mean, or like errors in spelling, or?
It's kind of choppy the way it reads.
Okay. Well, bound to happen sometimes. I didn't notice any, errors, so to speak, but
Correct.
Was
I
that
didn't
a
either.
regular meeting or was that a subcommittee group?
that was
It
our
was
regular meeting. It got rescheduled to a Tuesday because of the storm the previous Monday.
Yeah.
So it was a regular
I'm-
meeting.
Teresa is on the meeting. However, she has had technical difficulties today, so she cannot use her microphone. So I'm sure she'll take a look at the minutes and make amendments as she sees fit.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's all good. I don't think there's anything, critical in there. So, any more discussion? Okay, can we get a roll call vote, Jeremy?
Certainly. Chris King,
Yes.
Chris Lozan,
Yes.
Remus Pascorius,
Yes.
Jim Sproul.
Yes.
Do you want to amend that?
Just yes, as kind of as edited.
Noted. Frank Ward,
I have to abstain. I did not attend.
Lillian Wu,
Yes.
and I'm a yes.
All right. Moving right along. Our topic for discussion tonight is an update on the general fund operating budget development. So, I don't know, did you want to present some of that to us, Gareth?
Yeah. So you'll have to excuse me. I haven't been to the last few meetings, so I'm not entirely sure where kind of Mark is left off at this point. I know that you've received a preliminary revenue estimate and fixed cost or other cost breakout or estimation for FY27. We've had no real major changes to that calculation at this point. We've had our health insurance rates set, which is one of the large categories, but I believe that was reflected in your projection. Assessments like our Barnstable County pension assessment is coming through, and that was within our expectations. So really kind of we're in a holding pattern at this point as far as any real changes to our budget projections for FY27. Per our budget calendar, things are still moving on. Now that we've finished or kind of finished the production of the CIP budget, our focus moves on to the operating budget. So to that end, all of our departments have submitted the decision packages to the finance office and the town manager. Last week, you all should have received a link through Liquid Share. I'd sent you a copy of all of the decision packages, including the summary documents that I'll pull up on the screen shortly. As far as kind of the next milestones, obviously we have your report on the CIP that will go to the town council for the March 26th meeting, I believe it is. The town manager will be having a public hearing on proposed fiscal year fees on the 17th. The proposed fees are available on his website. There are increases in some of our enterprise fund fees that will support their operating budgets going into fiscal year 27. Probably the one that you'll see that will have the most concern from the community, I think, as we've seen in last few years, will be our solid waste operations, just the cost of tipping and getting rid of the garbage. Just continual increase year over year. The town manager is scheduling meetings with the department heads who have submitted decision packages to review the proposals. We have our first meeting this week with the information technology department, followed by, I believe, the PEG enterprise and planning and development. And then we will move on to community services and MEA the following week. So as things ramp up, we'll be able to bring you back some information. But let me share my screen and we can just take a quick look at the requests. Can everyone see that okay?
Yes.
Yes.
So for the decision packages for fiscal year 27, starting with the enterprise funds, at this point we've received nothing from the airport. Not that they're not asking for anything, but they do have a more centralized budget process over there. So they're still working on it and will get us details in the near future. Marina, they're looking for a capital outlay of about $75,000 for dock replacements and facility maintenance. And then they're working with the Human Resources Department at looking at seasonal wage increases for their seasonal staff. A lot of that will be tied together, I think, with kind of an overall look at the seasonal wage rates. If you kind of look through these decision packages, you'll see a reoccurring theme there for not only the marina or Sandy Neck, but you'll also see seasonal rate increases proposed at the HYCC, the aquatics program, pretty much across the board, just to keep up with the general market. So Sandy Neck, similar seasonal wage increase, facilities improvements, and small vehicle replacement. HYCC, including their DPW submissions for the maintenance of the plant there. Again, we're looking at minor wage increases for overtime, seasonals, and they've proposed an additional facility supervisor. The maintenance agreements are adjusting for inflation, I'm assuming. Similar mechanical and facility improvements as we've seen in previous years of 130,000. And then just ongoing costs for general supplies and uniforms and etc. Of course, nothing crazy there. Some costs associated with bringing and maintaining the Hyannis course, now that that's fully operational again. And then some, again, you'll see the seasonal wage increase proposed for their staff. The PEG program for the public access, apart from kind of built-in cost of living adjustments for the staff, which would also include the school district's B2B channel. They are requesting about 28,000 in replacement studio equipment and laptops. It is worth noting that as far as the PEG program goes, we're starting to see a decline in the revenue estimates for the PEG program. Really looking at it, it's people are dropping their typical cable packages for streaming alternatives. So I think this year is the first year we've actually seen a decline in the revenue anticipated for the PEG program. So we've got reserves there, and we can maintain the current level for a number of years. However, it's just an additional area that we're now beginning to monitor more closely as we've seen this trend. CWMP, the program has requested 5 new FTEs and vehicles to support that. This has been a reoccurring request for the last year. We've managed to get by and with the scale of projects that we have, with the current staff probably relying a little more on outside vendors and contractors. So we'll evaluate the need for the 5 new FTEs as proposed, and ultimately the town manager will make a recommendation, yes or no.
Excuse me, Garrett. Excuse me. Are those 5 full-time employees in that personnel number? Does that include employee benefits?
I'm shooting from the hip. I imagine it will include health insurance or a portion of it. They wouldn't have gone so far as to include the full cost, like retirement assessment, contributions, that type of thing. So you're looking mainly at salaries only.
Thank you.
At the water pollution plant itself, some capital equipment renewal, grinder pumps, increases in electricity, small amount for overtime, and then general inflationary increases for natural gas, office supplies, and so on. I might sound a little vague on some of these. We haven't got to the point of fully evaluating them yet, so we're learning this at the same time you are, to be honest. Water supply. This will be for the contract we have for the management of the operations, and then we typically budget around 200,000 each year for capital outlay. So that's in line with previous years. Solid waste, inflationary increases for the disposal fees, recycling, overtime costs, and looks like they are proposed or have proposed replacement of one of their Kubota 4 wheels over there. Administrative services, out of the administrative service departments, moving on to the general fund, the only department to submit was the IT department. And this is for kind of their ongoing technology refresh, along with contract renewals for different software security licenses. It's kind of one of those areas that we are least likely to put off to the following year. Our operations are just too vulnerable to systems being down, so we tend to invest in this area regularly. But the sad thing is nothing's getting cheaper. MEA, part-time animal control officer was proposed. I believe this is at least the third year I've seen that one come in. One of their submissions that was new for this year is an on-call policy. We haven't met with them yet, but I think, yeah, this is one we'll look at quite closely just to see what the circumstances are around that submission. Vehicle replacement, software updates, some overtime training, shellfish seed, and additional seasonal weekend help for their administrative office in the way of dispatching staff.
Right.
Community services, again, seasonal wage increase. One of their themes we've seen coming out of community services is being concerns around playgrounds around the community. So they've taken on annual inspections or a rotating schedule of inspections. So inspections occur every year. They might not hit every playground every year, but they're trying to ensure that they get eyes on them regularly. And then proposed maintenance. From my experience in the school department, playgrounds are a bottomless pit. You're going to be replacing like the bark mulch or the cushioning on the ground regularly. So they're trying to get a operating budget that they can have at their site to pursue this annually in order to prevent accidents. So we'll be reviewing that. Credit card processing fees, they're proposing an increase. We're continually seeing a greater percentage of our activity fees move over to credit card payments. And then they've got some training fees.
Yes, excuse me again, please.
No.
Is this a required format? I mean, what is it that we're seeing here? In some cases, it looks like it's just the incremental. This isn't anywhere near the total budget, right?
This is just the decision packages, which are the additional increases for fiscal year 27.
So in the community services, their seasonal wage increase is $228,000.
They are proposing an increase of 228,000. I suspect they're proposing increasing their hourly rate as opposed to a fixed amount that we currently pay the likes of a lifeguard or a beach assistant.
So I'm just trying to understand it. If that's let's say it's a 10% increase, then they got a pretty big budget, don't they?
Yes, they do have a significant budget.
So if that were a 10% increase, they'd have a $2 million budget?
I think
they'd have a $4 million budget.
Aquatic budgets would be close to that, yeah. 2 million.
For playgrounds. That number seems extraordinarily high to me.
Yeah, I think when you get into the realm of maintenance for the playgrounds, putting in new foundations and things like that, you're going to spend 150,000 pretty quickly. again, I
On seasonal
included,
increases.
the full
These are
Sorry?
seasonal people that we pay them $20 an hour. I'll take it
I don't-
offline. The number just doesn't seem to make sense to me.
I did send you the full breakout of the proposal, so I
Was
can
that the
pull them up.
162 pages? That was the 162 page document?
Yeah, it's probably that big.
Oh yeah, thank you. It amazes me how much paper we have to put all the details in, and I think the majority of this $200 million budget could be done in 5 pages, but that's just my venting. I'll
Then we
be
wouldn't be
quiet.
transparent. Planning and development, falling into with the conservation department. They have an ongoing ponds monitoring program. So that covers the fan wart remediation, and then affordable housing monitoring contract proposed at 50,000. Inspectional services are proposing 2 additional health inspectors for their rental registration program, and then 1 building inspector. This has fees associated with it that the town council approved earlier or late last year. And so we'll be expecting those to move forward. Public Works I think Mark had mentioned this. They are proposing or looking at replacing or outsourcing their packer service. So that is included in the budget with some offset savings. And then proposed capital outlay for facility improvements, increases in uniforms, HVAC supplies, and different inflationary increases for contracted services and building supplies. Highway proposed catch basin cleanings, and then there's vehicle replacements for all departments. Increases in the contract for the hazardous waste days they hold at the solid waste facilities, and then additional uniforms. And then lastly, we're looking at the proposed or submissions for the police department. They are proposing vehicle replacements at a level slightly or almost double the amount of the current fiscal year. So we'll be reviewing that. Training costs largely is to cover overtime needed to allow the officers to attend trainings. We're looking closely at their contracted IT services, and then a host of smaller increases for different supply lines. Large one there for the translation program, which is described in your packet.
Excuse me again, Gary. So this is the increase in the police. So that they're increasing the training by 640,000.
They're proposing an increase of that much.
Which is on top of what? What is their normal run rate? They only have 120 people.
Yep. Well, they have a base budget of 478,000 in overtime for training, plus 127,000 in materials. So the additional increase is 133,000 requested for training specific overtime, essentially.
And what does it say? Training personnel is 640 plus another 98 for operating.
They currently have 605,000 in their budget for that same line, so the addition is 133,000.
All right, so there is an existing budget. So then the total is 800,000, that's the net increase of what's their total budget? That's not
Their
on there.
net,
Oh,
the,
the police budget has been running about 18-19 million dollars a year.
I agree with that. That's why this form to me it's such a partial, you don't see the big picture at all. You can see certain line items that have an existing budget these are the line items that they're trying to increase.
these are the lines that they've proposed increases for in fiscal year 27.
And the other lines they're proposing to be flat.
Correct. Well, with the exception of personnel costs, which are going to be going up based on collective bargaining agreements. But if they were to propose additional staffing, it would be reflected on this document.
Okay. So their $18 million budget that Lillian mentioned, it's going to go up by roughly 800,000 plus whatever salary increases are required. So in order to see the big picture, you got to take like 17 numbers, add and subtract, versus saying they had an $18 million budget. It's going up by 800,000, and these are the 6 items. And the 18 had a trend of 3 years. Does that show up in any of these budget packages where you can see trends?
Yeah, again, Frank, this is a preliminary document specifically for CFAC and internal staff as far as us gathering the information. We're sharing it with you. This isn't a community document for general distribution, for the mere fact that it doesn't reflect the full picture. This is
I can't put into words
document.
what it does reflect. That's my difficulty to say. If I were to show this to someone or even discuss it with someone, I'd say, yeah, there's a bunch of line items with priorities that have offset funding and have a net increase of $811,000. So, I guess I should let it go. I'm not going to solve this problem now, but these forms to me are less than optimal.
I'm going to jump in here so that we don't get bogged down with the weeds. Gara, thank you for the overview of the decision packages. I have a couple of questions. I know you're in the process of evaluating the departments and the enterprise funds. Is there a proposed schedule? Is there a schedule for the proposed operating budget from the town manager?
As far as a timeline about when he'll.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So the next date is May 13th. The town manager submits the recommended FY27 operating budget to the town council.
Okay, and when does CFAC have to give their
CFAC is slated to submit their review of the operating budget
on the
to
12th?
the town manager and town council on May 12th.
Right. So what I'm asking is, will we get all of the proposed operating budgets for municipal, enterprise funds, and the schools, so that we can do an appropriate evaluation?
Of course, as you do every year, and
know.
You'll get sick of it by the time you get it.
I know that. I'm just sort of figuring out when we might get all those figures.
Yeah. Well, obviously, we have the FY26 budget. We have FY25 actuals already. We will distribute to CFAC as the moment that the town manager has made any decisions around what decision packages and projected costs are moving forward, so that you can start your deliberations and structuring your report.
Yeah.
Again, we're at the point where we haven't even sat down with departments internally yet to review these requests and operating budgets.
In last year, we did get a look at the proposed. I know that proposed means that it can change, which means that whatever decision and analysis that we make, we might need to redo it. But it's always good to have a preliminary look at what is proposed because it gives us an idea of what does the operating budget look like.
Do we know what the
If I
format
was to
will
go
look
out
like?
on a limb, I would say that you'll likely have a jumping off point by the end of this month.
Great.
By that time, we would have gone through and met with departments, and we'll have a better sense of what the town manager may be thinking as far as what direction he's getting from the town council, and what would be a reasonable budget for the next fiscal year. And at that point, we can start distributing full documents as far as out of the requests, which ones might or might not move forward. But I'd say March, into March.
That would be very, very
Okay.
helpful.
That would be helpful. And if helpful, Frank, I could send you what was last year's mainly in spreadsheet formats.
That would be great because I'm interested in knowing what format we're going to get. If it's this format, then I'll be more than disappointed. Are we going to have some yearly trends? And how many departments do we have? Do we have 100 departments?
I think Mark had sent us a copy of the operating budget for this meeting.
Yes, he has.
And
Is that the 162 page document?
No,
no. It's a
it's just a
6-page document.
Yeah,
6-page document.
you should have received it.
All right,
And
I'll go
It's a
through the
PDF.
email.
It's a PDF printout of a spreadsheet.
That's right. It's not a spreadsheet. It's a PDF of a spreadsheet. So you can't fool around with the spreadsheet itself in Excel, but it is a PDF of the spreadsheet. And Gareth, I have some questions of that spreadsheet if we can go back to that. But I want to wait until you're done with the decision package.
Yeah, that's really all I have for the decision packages. I think we got through the last one, which was police. So if you don't have any, if there are any other questions, I can entertain those, or we can move on to the general fund projection.
Well,
Okay.
before we do that, can we schedule some of the departments to come before CFAC?
Yeah, we do need to do that. I think
Yeah,
we're a little early for
we
that,
need to
though.
start with schools because of 60% of the operating budget. And then
Yeah, no, I
then
feel like we don't do that until like the beginning of April usually. Is that accurate, Gareth, do you think? Or maybe
Yeah,
the end of this month?
it's one of their timeline is one of the earlier departments, in that they have to get their budget approved by the school committee before submitting it to the town manager.
Right.
So it'd typically be one of the first ones that you would hear. The superintendent made a presentation to the school committee last Wednesday. I do have the budget presentation.
we have a
I
copy of that.
think Mark sent it out to the group.
Yeah, Mark did send it to us.
Yeah, we do. And then it's submitted to the town manager April 2nd, according to that document. So,
Yeah. Their school committee has their public hearing on the budget on March 18th. So I would say the budget that's proposed is going to be pretty locked in after that date.
yep. Yeah, our
Um,
next regular meeting here is the 23rd. So if we can get the superintendent here on the 23rd, I think that would be fine.
The superintendent and Chris Strelly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And if
Yep,
I'm not
okay.
if I'm not mistaken, we had a session with the DPW and the police department.
Yes.
Was there others, Lillian? I can't recall.
No, those were it, Chris.
That's typically the only departments we talk to, since that's the majority of the budget. Yeah. But I mean, that's up to the operating budget subcommittee if you guys want to talk to anyone else during your subcommittee meetings as well.
I think the DPW and police give us a very good idea of their growth, of the budget, manpower, the problems they have had in hiring. And so we get a good sense of the municipal operations that way. You think so, Chris
Yeah.
King?
Yes, I do. And Chris, I think we did all three of those those groups during our standard CFAC meeting, not through just the
Yes.
subcommittee meeting.
Yeah,
And
those ones should be at the regular meetings, but if
Yes.
you guys want to bring anyone else in to like your
okay.
subcommittee meetings, I think that would be fine. I
Do
don't think we
we
Well,
need any of the
that
departments at our regular meetings.
do
that won't
do
be
we
necessary.
do we ever talk to any of the enterprise funds?
We
No,
do not. We do not.
It's probably worthwhile at least talking to some of the bigger ones.
I mean, it could be worthwhile to talk to the airport
Hmm.
because they are they're 13, 14 million if I recall in terms of a total budget. But digging into the budget, and I don't want to say we shouldn't, but digging into the budget, the majority of that revenue comes from buying and selling gasoline or fuel, I should say.
Yeah, the two big enterprise funds are the airport, which is roughly 13-14 million dollars, and then of course the sewer, which is another $12 million, and it probably is going to go up again this year. And then the water supply stays pretty much the same around 9 million.
Hmm.
So we've not the information that they send us is fairly complete, and from that data, we have been able to assess, do a reasonably accurate assessment of their operation. So unless you want to talk to them, it's up to you.
But doesn't the DPW handle or have visibility into the water and sewer also?
Yes, they
And
do.
so when we talk to the DPW Remus, we end up grilling them or asking them a bunch of questions about I shouldn't say grilling, but they're
Yeah.
very open about answering questions about the sewer and the Hyannis Water Department.
Hmm.
So I think we can get it pretty well covered. Um, and I agree with Lillian as some of the other enterprise are pretty self-describing.
I guess the reason why I ask about the airport is I think it would be important for us to understand or get a better line of sight on where the revenue is coming from and how are they being allocated or used. And this is in connection with this whole concept of the kind of the balancing of the public service that's being provided by these enterprise funds and the value of the underlying assets, and are they appropriately aligned?
It's a very good point. I think uh, the visibility of the finances on all of the enterprises there, and we've received that visibility. I think what you might be asking is a little bit more of the backstory or the understanding of the finances
Mm,
behind what do the numbers really mean?
right. That's absolutely right.
Okay, that's
Generally,
good.
generally speaking, Remus, the enterprise funds send us detailed information about their projected revenue and very detailed descriptions of their expenses.
Mm,
So once we get that, it's available to the whole committee.
right.
And I think it's worthwhile to be able to look at that data, Remus, and
Yeah.
say, okay, what's the strategy behind the uh, revenue and expenses?
Correct. So, and I'm thinking about it from the point of view of we're providing a public service, so that's really important, right? But some of these assets are by virtue of the fact that they are enterprise funds and not private assets, even privately run assets. We're not generating any revenue for the general fund, right?
That's
Correct.
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 And so I think it's important for us to understand what are we giving up by virtue of the way that they're structured as enterprise funds, as opposed to alternative ways of looking at things. This is again in this context of looking at all of the different opportunities for generating revenue for the general fund.
All fair questions, and I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah.
Is that each of the enterprise funds has a level of surplus that they use for their enterprise under direction from the town council.
Mhm.
But the question that you're raising is that amount of assets that have been accumulated, is that available for use outside of the enterprise that could benefit the town?
Mhm. Right.
Did I say that right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, particularly in the context of concentrated user groups, right? So the airport has a very concentrated user group. The golf courses have concentrated user groups. The marinas have concentrated user groups. And I'm not making a judgment here. I'm
No,
just I'm just pointing out, right, things that we should be looking at in the context of striking that balance,
correct,
or
correct,
in the context of the town striking that balance. It's not us to strike that balance. It's for us to identify kind of where things are and look at things in a different, potentially in a different way, potentially.
correct. In
If
agreement.
I can just, since I have the floor for a second, Gareth, can you just make sure that the emails that you're sending out include me? Because this document that you were referring to earlier, I didn't get a copy of it. So I might not be on all of your email lists.
The decision package document.
Yeah,
Okay,
just
I'll
if
double
you can
check
just
that.
check. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, you're not the only one, Remus. I couldn't find it either, and but I could be at fault of losing an email or two, Gareth. So
That's never happened to me.
well, just to be
It comes through as I'm not even certain it comes through from my email address. It's a liquid share program that
right.
allows you to download the files. It's because they're greater than 10 megabytes that the most email systems are going to capture
Reject
that
it.
as spam or just won't deliver it.
So I didn't get that unless the liquid email came in as spam.
Yeah, yeah.
yes,
It
so I
may
got
have.
it.
I mean, I see your email listed on there as a recipient, Remus. So
Okay, thanks,
um,
Chris.
might want to take a look at spam. But
Chris.
Gareth, if you
Great,
can
yeah.
resend it, that's fine too.
Yeah, I'll look through the spam then.
Came on March 6th, Remus,
March 6th. Okay, thank you.
and you were listed.
Um, and I think you raised good points about the enterprise funds. I would say, let's start with the schools, DPW, police, see kind of where we're at on the timeline. And if the subcommittee wants to bring enterprise funds in, or if we have time just to bring them in anyway, I think that's fine before the report is due. Um, so I would say let's see where we're at as the process unfolds.
Chris, excuse me, I know I missed the last meeting, but did the
Yes.
group agree on looking at private sector participation? Because if they did, if that's what the group was looking toward, then one would believe that you would have to look at enterprise funds because that would be the likely
Yeah, so
candidates.
we did approve the report as,
Uh,
submitted by the CIP subcommittee. So I would say if the operating budget subcommittee wants to build off of that as part of your report, which that's Lillian, Chris King, and yourself, Frank, on the subcommittee, um, I think that would be great just for continuity from the previous report. Um, but I'll leave that up to you, how you guys want to structure your report.
And if you
Well,
want,
well, don't forget, we're dealing with the general fund and the operating budget based on revenues. If we want, and I agree with you, if the subcommittee decides that it would like to explore additional avenues of revenue, that would be more than appropriate.
Were
Yeah,
you
I
only
think that
looking at
can be a
revenues?
component. Yeah. What?
Is our
Say that
plan to
again,
only
Frank?
look at revenue?
Yes, that's what the operating budget is. We look at the revenue,
But we don't look at expenses?
and then we look at the expenses.
Because I think I found the 6-page document with 12 years of data and 5 pages on revenue. So do we have anything that summarizes the departmental expenses?
Not yet. We don't have that yet.
Okay. I'm just interested in knowing that the format that it might be coming in, but I guess Chris King
We
was going to send me the last year, so
we do get that, Frank.
okay.
The data
I-
comes in kind of in a trickle, a little bit at a
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
yeah. All right. Well, I'm just looking forward to the format because I'm
Gareth,
a
I have a
big fan of
question.
trends.
Oh, I have a question, Gareth. Is the operating budget going to be printed this year, or is it going to be all e-format?
Good question. We are currently in the throes of implementing the ClearGov budgeting package, which has a digital budget book, which can then be exported into a PDF format. Ultimately, we'll print a dozen or so copies for the council, town clerk, and whoever within this group might be interested. But to be perfectly honest with you, we're trying to transition over to more of a online presence. Part of the plan is, along with the digital budget book, it moves into more of a open government transparency portal where citizens can access the town budget, and drill down to department level program expenses, and not be locked into just a budget document, but you can actually get more real time review of departments and expenditures. Um, so I'm working on the assumption that we will be presenting the budget or have the digital budget book, so to speak, available for the FY27 operating budget, similar to the rollout that we've done with the capital budget.
That's
But
a
there
good,
will be some printed copies.
yeah. I need to speak for myself. I'm such an old dog that I love to get my fingers on actual pages when I'm doing the operating budget. So if you could
I
save one for
understand.
me, that would be great.
But the only thing I can caution is that budget document is good for about one day for about 3 hours, and
Yeah,
then
that's right.
it's stale. So we're trying to move with the times and make stuff a little more accessible and current. And
Yeah,
hopefully one day, maybe in a decade, we'll be able to leverage AI to do it for us.
thank you.
So Garrett, I have some questions on the 2027 general fund budget projections that you sent out or that Mark sent out. Um, can I ask those questions? Can I take the floor here?
Please do.
Okay, so first question I have is can we see all history for all rows? In other words, the property tax um, income only shows the budget, and for 26 and 27, it doesn't show the actuals for the full 10 years. And it'd be nice to see that, as well as on the last page, general fund and school budget are only shown for fiscal year 26 and 27. It'd be good to see all years if possible.
Um, yeah, we can we don't typically collect that information in this document, um, purely for the fact that um, actual collections for property taxes typically isn't going to inform so much the projections for the budget. Because we have a stable tax base and stable collection rates, we're always going to populate our next year's budget projection, assuming the maximum of Prop 2.5 for allowable increase, and as much as the levy we can assess. Other documents that we've produced throughout the budget cycle do talk about actual collections and collection rates. So it'd just be a matter of us populating this document with the property taxes. Where this budget projection document, we use that for more of the local receipts that can be variable, which the historical actuals would inform our projection number. So that's kind of why we have those populated as opposed to the property taxes. But we'll have to go back and populate that document. If that's what you need, it's public information, we can do that. It'll just take us a little bit of time to put that
Okay.
into this
I mean,
format.
specifically for me, the areas of interest is new growth and in the property taxes, how the town is growing, and also how the town is increasing or decreasing its debt. So debt
Okay.
exclusion. So those are the two areas that I was specifically interested in, but it would be good if
Yeah,
it was populated across the board.
it's all information we have, obviously. As recently as our January meeting at the town council, things like new growth were presented historically. Yeah, we can work on that.
Okay. Second one was on page 6. It looks like the percentage growth for the um, operating budget and the school budget are not correct.
Where are you seeing that?
On page 6, it has a school budget growth of 60% and a general fund budget growth of 39%. That just, it's a
Oh,
growth of,
okay. So what that's actually showing you is the allocation of revenues to each operating area. So what we've done in this projection is taken all of the revenues, subtracted out the fixed costs for the year, things like state and county assessments, employee benefits, and then whatever is left per our revenue sharing agreement with the school department is allocated out 60-40. So that's not a percent increase. That's a percentage of the available revenue that we're projecting for FY27, how it's going to be or how it's planned to be distributed at this point in time based on these numbers.
okay. I was just basing that on the column heading, which at the top of the page, it says change, the dollar amount and percentage. So I was looking at that as being
Yeah, kind of
the
that bottom
budget.
section there is an explanation of how we come up with our revenue sharing agreement with the school district around the 60-40 revenue sharing agreement.
Right.
Okay, got it. Understand. And then my last question, this is more, maybe more of a outside of the finance type question, but is school choice and charter schools a right? Or is that something that some individual is a benefit to the individual? In other words, is school choice a right that someone doesn't have to uh, uh, pay for, or is it something that's free?
It's free to the individual. The sending school district gets an assessment that flows into Barnstable.
And so when I say it's a right, that means any individual can go in and say, I want school choice, and we have to pay for it.
Um, well, a couple of caveats. You're essentially right. The district chooses whether or not and for which grades they offer school choice. So if Barnstable school system looks at their enrollment projections and they see that their incoming kindergarten enrollment is right up against their classroom cap sizes, and adding an additional student would require them to bring on a new teacher, then the school committee can say for that fiscal year, we're opting not to accept any kindergarten incoming school choice slots. And that's something that they do annually. There are very few circumstances in which the district can refuse someone if they're offering slots. So is it a right? Maybe, but we don't have to offer it to start with. Um, the families do not pay for it. It's paid for by the sending district at whatever the set school choice rate is these days. I don't recall off the top of my head it.
Okay.
But it's certainly not the equivalent of probably what it costs to at the per student cost.
Okay. Thank you. I saw that as being a large amount of dollars, so I just questioned that.
Yeah, so I think what we in FY27 we're looking at
2 million,
2 million, was it?
1,998,000. Is that, but is that our cost?
School
That's
choice assessment, we're carrying an estimate of 1.9 million. So that is the cost to the town for the students that we send out. And then there will be a revenue line for the students that are coming into Barnstable, which is part of the school committee's budget.
Do we have anyone coming in? I don't think we do.
We definitely do.
Yeah,
Well, a lot.
It's
A lot more
somewhere
going out, I
between
think.
70 and 90 students, I think, off the top of my head.
Okay.
Chris King, you asked the right question to the right person, because Gareth was the school budget guru for years and years.
Well, it was just an interesting question about whether there's participation. If it's a right, then anybody can choose to go to a different district. But if it is a benefit, then there would be where the family can participate. There would be financial participation in being able to get the student to that other school. That was the only question I had is it a right or is it a benefit?
Yeah. One thing about the Cape is there aren't many other geographic areas in Massachusetts as competitive for school choice students than on the Cape.
Mm.
The transient nature of students is amazing on the peninsula. It's mind-boggling. There was a point in time, probably just over a decade ago, where we had more students coming in than going out, but now it's about a 2-to-1 going out as far as coming in. So
Yeah, and it's understandable. I mean, you have West Barnstable and you have Marston Mills, and getting bused from West Barnstable and Marston Mills to Hyannis might not be as um, desirable as going to Sandwich.
You're exactly right. When I did the analysis, it's the border neighborhoods that you see a higher percentage of students jumping over across the border.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Gary, can I ask a couple questions? One, it looked like the healthcare was about an 8% increase, and I know Mark had said they were worried about like really high. Was that lower than you had expected for healthcare?
Yeah, where do I start with healthcare? The 8% is a significant chunk for any budget line to go up. The health insurance industry right now is reeling over the GLP-1 medications that have gained popularity in the last kind of 3-4 years. It has quickly become the number one prescribed medication, or that group has become the number one prescribed medication within our health group system. Up to close to $6.5 million in prescription costs in a year. And they're projecting that cost to double every year for the next few years. So the health group's initial projections for rate increases, if they had done nothing, just allowing the status quo, was probably going to be up close to 20% increase in health insurance. About midway through last year, we got notified that Harvard Pilgrim and Blue Cross Blue Shield were no longer going to offer GLP-1 medications for weight loss under our health insurance plans. They would still be available for diabetes treatments as it is currently prescribed, but they were no longer going to cover it for weight loss. So when the Cape Cod Municipal Health Group went out for their annual rate settings, we were expecting doing nothing. If we were to include the GLP-1s, it could be as high as 20%. Overall, it came in at about 16%, I think, in that neighborhood. And then that was including the GLP-1s, and then not taking on an additional rider for those medications in our plan. It got the rates down to about 12% increase year over year. The health group has about a $40 million fund balance, retained earnings year over year. So they voted to buy down the premiums from the 12% down to an 8% increase that we now see for FY27. So it looks, it's health insurance is such a black hole for the consumer. It seems like we're at the will of every party that's above us. It's the health insurance system, it's the insurance providers, it's the drug providers, it's the hospitals. It's scary.
So GLP-1s then next year won't be covered for municipal employees that are on either Blue Cross or Pilgrim?
They won't be covered for weight loss specifically. They will be a covered expense for diabetes controls.
Gotcha. I also looked up that transfer fee increase to $410. What percentage of the transfer station's operations are subsidized by the town, or are these user fees covering a pretty large percent?
There is no portion of the solid waste facility covered by the general fund.
So these user fees are simply just covering operational costs, and Do other towns, I don't know if that they subsidize costs of those transfer stations, or is that something that has been talked about? Because it does seem to be a fairly large increase over even what people were telling me that it has been, 5, 10 years ago.
Yeah. So some communities, it's a general fund operation. So the general tax base is going to subsidize or pay the operating cost. But in Barnstable, it has been designated an enterprise fund, and it's required that it's 100% cost capture.
And then what else? Oh, I also did look up the aquatic program, and it looked like in the budget that they had not had an increase in their wages for 4 years. So that does seem like it makes sense why you would want to, with all of the needs for lifeguards, draw in compared to our competitive, YMCA's and the private organizations. So that did seem like it made sense.
Yeah.
And my last question with the PEG, I get that the revenue is going down with the less people that are watching cable TV, but it also seems like that group is providing a lot of just the digital media communications for the town. So would another department in town absorb that if that's not something that eventually would be viable? Because it seems important what they do, maybe not in the TV realm in the near future or long future, but communication is important.
Yeah, again, it's not an immediate concern, and we've got time to either become more efficient or scale back, or maybe there's a turnaround in provider payments. I don't know. I feel like I pay more for streaming services than I did for cable now. I got everything I wished for, but now it hasn't turned out that way. Yeah, I think the argument is at what point is the public access fall into the realm of municipal and school communications as opposed to public access television. So there is probably a case there for it being subsidized in part. However, it's not a 27 concern at this point.
Okay, thanks.
Is the town required to maintain public access television of some kind? Or
We are
does it?
required to
Yeah.
provide the channels, yeah.
Okay.
And remember, only a portion of it goes to the town, the schools, and then there's the third wheel there, which is the general public access, which I think is out of another organization.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Just want to make sure that we are going to invite those three departments sometime, whenever they're available.
So I believe I have a note here to ask the school department to attend on the 23rd of March,
If
Yes.
possible.
Yep.
if
That
possible.
would be great.
Would you like me to line up the other departments at future meetings, or just want to take that one now?
Well, I would say if you can line up DPW and police, either for our first meeting in April or subsequent meeting, whenever that information's available so they can present to us.
Okay.
Yeah, and we can probably have DPW and the police at the same meeting.
Yeah, usually we do that.
Yeah.
If possible.
Gareth, I wasn't able to find that email even in my spam. So if you can resend it, that would be great to me.
Based on the discussion we had today, and maybe Remus, we could talk about this offline, but maybe we should invite the airport commission or the airport organization to present to us also.
Yeah, I think that would be great if we can get them, at some point in April, maybe later on in April, after the other three.
I don't know of any other enterprise that's necessary since DPW will give us a view of the water and the sewer enterprise. So just the airport, which is the large one, would be worthwhile.
Yeah, I agree. That would be good to hear from them. Now, as far as the subcommittee meetings, do you guys have a day of the week that you want to meet or a
Yes,
time?
we will be meeting on Tuesdays, beginning on March 24th,
Okay. And what time are you guys going to be meeting?
4 o'clock.
4 o'clock. Okay.
Uh-huh.
So that going to be every Tuesday from that point?
Yes.
Okay. All
If
right.
any of you want to have like some private conversations around just kind of for this whole private sector participation element, I'm happy to kind of just get on the phone and kind of talk, serve as a sounding board or talk through stuff if that would be helpful.
A caution is that if you talk about private participation as a general topic, it's okay.
Mhm.
If you begin to think about various enterprise funds or departments, that would not be okay because we have a public law that says we have to have an open meeting.
Right.
So
I was
we
putting in
could
that.
talk about it philosophically. That's going to be fine.
Yeah, that I had in mind the former,
Yeah,
not the latter.
Yeah,
yeah.
and I would say, I mean, everyone's welcome to attend the subcommittee meetings as well. So
Oh, yes,
that
absolutely.
that discussion can happen during the meeting as well, if you're inclined. So anyway, anything else, Gareth? Were you going on to something else?
No, that's really it for the operating budget at this point.
Okay. All right. Well, we appreciate all of that. Any correspondence from committee members? No. Hearing none. Communication from staff. I think we have Betty and Gordon was here, but I don't see him now. Betty, did you have anything you wanted to say?
Yeah, no, I think you guys are doing amazing. I'm intrigued by Remus's. I'd like to talk to him about his ideas. I've got an idea myself on how to do some public-private stuff. And just for your information, I think it's tomorrow morning, because I'm the liaison to the airport. They do have a finance subcommittee. So they do parse it out that way. They have two standing subcommittees. I think one's infrastructure and one's finance. So I think that meets tomorrow, and that's open to the public if anybody wanted to pop in on that just to get a little smarter on that.
Okay,
I
great.
wish I
Thank you.
was in. Yeah, that's great. I wish I was in town. I'm in Westchester, New York right now.
No,
But
you
Betty,
don't have to be in town. They do them all by Zoom. They
ah,
do their airport commission one in person, but the two subcommittees 100% meet by Zoom. So you can
oh,
Zoom
that's
in from
great.
anywhere.
Okay. Oh, good. Thanks. And Betty, I'd be happy to sit down and talk to you at any point. I
Yeah, if
can
you
come
could
in
send
and we
me
can have
your,
a
I don't think
coffee
I
or
have your phone number. If you can just email that to me, that'd be
sure,
good.
I'll
Thank
do
you.
that. Sure.
Great. All right. There's nothing else. I would take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second it.
All right, perfect. Um, the only other thing I'll say, our next meeting, regular meeting, is March 23rd. So, can we get a roll call vote on the adjournment, Jeremy?
Of course. Chris King,
Yes.
Chris Lozon,
Yes.
Remus Pascorius,
Yes, sir.
Jim Sproul,
Yes.
Frank Ward,
Yes.
Lillian Wu,
Yes.
and I am a yes.
Excellent. Thank you guys very much.